My dad's 69 and I was on a video call with him recently and he mentioned that he was doing overtime, and it kind of stopped me in my tracks because he's 69. He's done everything he's supposed to do all his entire life. He's worked, he's paid his national insurance, he's paid his mortgage off, and if he still wants to work at 69, then fair play to him. But he was telling me that he's struggling. And don't get me wrong, we all are. But it did make me think about something that I've probably been putting off my entire adult life. Is I'm 42, and what does retirement for me actually look like? Now, I am fortunate in some respects. I mean, I did work for the National Health Service for 12 years, and I do have actually a nice little bit of a pension built up. I was fortunate really because it was on the old system where I can still draw that at 60, and I do get a nice decent lump sum. But here's the thing, the projection that I've got doesn't really make a dent in my future expenses. I'm really grateful that me in the past actually went and done that and got this NHS pension, because up to this point that's pretty much my entire retirement plan. Now, I know that that's nowhere near enough and I'm going to have to make some changes, because I don't know if you've caught the news recently about the state pension. Now, under the current rules, the state pension is basically for in 2046. But the current government's financial forecasts are saying that that could be brought forward by 7 years to between 2037 and 2039. I'm 42. This isn't some sort of theoretical question that could affect people 50 years from now. This could potentially affect me and people of my age. And I'm not being funny, but I have days now I can't work to the best of my ability. So I don't know what use I'll be in the workforce to somebody when I'm 65, let alone 68. And here's the thing that really annoys me. When I started work at 16, I paid my national insurance and my tax and like everybody else. And the general consensus was at 65, you draw your pension as a man and 60 as a woman. That was the deal. It was almost some sort of like social contract that you entered into, but somewhere along the way, the governments have moved the goalposts. That's not really fair. And it's the whole classifications of pensions. It's now being lumped in with the welfare state as a benefit. Well, it's not actually a benefit because it's your money that you've put in that the government let you have back at some point. Almost like an investment, if you like. That's not a benefit, and it really, really narks me, that does. And you know, if I was being crass, I would say that the current state pension set up in the United Kingdom mirrors the definition of a Ponzi scheme very, very uncomfortably close. But I'm not being crass, so I'm not saying that. So here's the problem. I can sit here and moan about the government changing the goalposts to pension ages until I'm blue in the face. But it's not going to change anything, is it? Let's be honest. You know, I can't control what this government does or the next government does or the government after that does. But there are things that I can control. Now look, I'm probably the last person to give any sort of advice to in finance or life or anything. I mean, technically I'm homeless, right? I live in a caravan. And I'm certainly no caravan Warren Buffett. But I've opened an investment ISA. Now, before you come at me in the comments, I'm aware that there are things like the self-invested pension plan, SIPPs, if you like, and it does have tax advantages, which as a basic tax rate payer, you're probably about 20% better off through tax relief. But here's the thing, they're actually moving the access age for the SIPP as well from 55 to 57, in line with the state pension, but you can access it 10 years earlier. And again, like I keep saying, 20 years from now, what says that the government don't bring that in line with the state pension age? Maybe they won't, nobody knows, but I don't really like the idea of building a pot of money and keeping it locked up behind a government-shaped drawbridge, if that makes sense. So that's the trade-off that I've chosen. Could I be potentially out of pocket? Well, yeah, I could. But I'm not sacrificing any freedom of access to that money. You know, if 48-year-old or 55-year-old me needs access to that money. Well, I ain't got to wait for the government to give me permission. And that's a trade-off I'm willing to take. Now, could the rules about ISAs change? Well, yeah, they could. And they are. I mean, cash ISAs and holding cash in an investment ISA, there's a whole raft of changes happening. Could the government, is it a stretch of the imagination that the government will change the rules on investment ISAs? Yes. But as it stands right now, if I needed to liquidate that account and pull that money out, well, I'm free to do so. I'm making decisions based on the rules that are in play today. If the rules change, I will change and adapt. I'm not putting a penny into a pension pot where I have no free access to the funds. Anyway, I'll show you the portfolio. Now, you've got to bear with me, it isn't pretty, and it's not a life-changing amount of money at the moment. But you've got to understand is, for about the last couple of months, I've been purposely trying to put £50 a week away into this pot. And we'll go through the portfolio just for giggles. The first pot and the biggest allocation is the S&P 500 accumulated. Now, there's a really simple reason for that. I have neither the time or the inclination to start learning how to invest and becoming some sort of financial bro, whatever they call themselves these days. The S&P 500 is, by and large, one of the gold standard ETFs that you can invest in. So it just makes sense, just keep adding me £50 a week, most weeks, because like I say, sometimes life gets in the way and I can't do it. I am not immune. I still don't have an unlimited amount of cash. And then the other pieces of the portfolio, well, you'll see there's a Starbucks and an Nvidia. I've not actually touched them. They were in commissions through the platform, so I recommended the ISA to a couple of people and they signed up and invested their own money, and that's just the kickback that I got. And it's very limited, only 3 times a year that they give you a few free shares, or fractional shares should I say, but it is by the by. And then you'll see the Lloyd's TSB. Sorry, the Lloyd's. Well, I had £10 as a gift and I was looking for a company and I just seen Lloyd's sat there and they were having a really, really bad day. I think they were down about 3 or 4%. Really bad day. And I thought, well, that bank's going nowhere. Stick a tenner in it, and percentage-wise, it's doing really, really well. Monetary-wise, not so much. And then you'll see the SpaceX. Now, my friend was going, oh, you've got to buy SpaceX, oh, the IPO. So I thought, do you know what, I'm just going to throw a tenner in it. So I put a tenner in it and I rode it up a bit, and then I thought, right, I'm up about 30% here. So I withdrew, well, I sold off £10 of the share and put that straight back into the S&P. So that's my free moon ticket, because if ever Elon Musk does something really great with SpaceX, then I'm happy. And if it burns to the ground, well, I've lost nothing. So like I say, my current strategy is to try and add £50 a week to the investment ISA, mostly into the S&P 500 accumulated, because again, everything in that gets reinvested. And there's going to be weeks, look, I'm going to Cambodia for 6 weeks shortly. I don't think I'll be putting a penny into the ISA while I'm there, because every penny I've got while I'm out there is keeping me going while I'm away. But for the main part, it's now part of my ongoing costs, because future me is going to have to rely on me to have its back, if that makes sense. And at the end of the day, it is only 50 quid a week. It's a takeaway less, I suppose. But accumulating over the years, that's going to make a significant bit of a lump sum, I hope, that future me is going to be really appreciative of. And the beauty is, There's no government telling me when I can start drawing it down. Anyway, have I left it too late? Probably. Have I given my future self a fighting chance? Well, I'd like to hope so.